Just when you thought those loopy education experts who've done more damage to this country than a misguided Trident missile couldn't get even balmier, they start shouting about a scheme so preposterous it takes your breath away. In the past, they've advocated informality in the classroom, allowing the pupil to address teachers by their first name. They've said misspelling doesn't matter so long as the child is getting the point across, and suggested grammar is overrated. They've even said there should be no winners at school sports days. Although, in fairness, Graham agreed with that as it set the tone for much of his career. Now, UNICEF UK has awarded a Swansea school the ludicrously named Rights Respecting School status. They particularly applauded the school's no shouting policy and the crazy idea that staff should sing to children to get their attention. Yeah, that's it. Tearaway James is continually tugging at poor June's hair in class. And as a teacher, I'm meant to sing to him? Do you, like me, think this lunacy strikes a bum note?
To us. Did you write that yourself?
I did write that myself. I did. As I always say, you can take the boy out the sun, you can't.
Priceless. Priceless. Don't get used to this, Nick Ferrari. I agree with you.
Oh, wow.
This is PC gone mad.
Yeah.
Gone mad.
Yeah.
And the terrible thing is it's not preparing those kids for the real world, because that's not how the real world works. So I'm with you, dude.
You're with me. Can we find any opposition?
When we talk about respecting in the classroom, that's all fantastic, isn't it? But, are they actually learning anything? Because, for the 6th year running now, we are bottom of the OECD table.
There you
go.
go.
The 6th year running, bottom of the literacy table. There's 24 countries. Slovakia's ahead of us, Estonia's ahead of us, Poland's ahead of us. And we're 23rd out of 24 for numeracy. And that is shocking. Yeah. So while we're respecting kids, and this report says that all the kids were asked how they felt in class, and they said safe, secure, happy, whatever, felt like a family. Lovely. It's all gorgeous. Yeah. But what are they actually learning? Yeah. Probably not very much. I'd like to see the academic results of that school as well. Yeah. To see if, while they're happy, they're learning.
So if the academic results are good, would you say it's a good idea then?
Well, yes.
No, the answer's no. Come on.
Go on then, James. Go on. You take
put her into a corner then, James.
Yeah, you did. Get me out. Get me out.
I would say, when I was at school, our school was a very strict school. Mm-hmm. So if you misbehaved...
Was it London?
It was London. And the cane existed at the time. And I remember, sadly, that I did misbehave and I was sent to the headmaster's class and I was caned. And do you know what? I never did it again. So I'm not saying violence is good, but the point is, having discipline in today's schools, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It didn't affect me. I did okay. So to me, to take away that principle of discipline and having to sing, where is this?
Can I ask, James, what did you do that needed caning, and are you still doing it in your adult?
I pulled somebody's hair.
You're right. We have heard from the school before we take this any further. So the school's head teacher, Mrs. Shenton, said, the Rights Respecting Schools programme has become an integral part of the school's ethos, and it is thanks to the commitment of the whole school staff and community that we can proudly celebrate this award. This is a happy school, and we will continue to build on this achievement and do our best for the children. So from their point of view, they actually think that they're creating an environment where children can flourish. One of the things I would say from an educational point of view, and I work in football, obviously, sometimes with younger players, there are definitely different characters that you have to manage in different ways. Some people do need to get positive information all the time, and others that you can pick out, I tend to pick them out quite early on when you get a group of young players together, that are sort of the ones that you need to get a bit of control over, because they're the leaders. And sometimes that's a carrot, sometimes it's a bit of a stick. And
what
obviously
would happen if you sung to them? Do you think?
They'd leave.
They'd be out.
So in a way, I try not to raise my voice. Don't try to give them too much information.
Yes,
but there is a point where actually you go, look, will you just sit down, leave the balls, and you just have to wrestle control a bit like this show, really.
Yeah.
I've raised my voice a few times.
About kids' rights over what they're learning. The thing is, kids have got to be prepared for the outside world, and I don't think they're not being prepared.
Carol.
They're not being prepared. We tell them exam results don't matter. We tell them competition doesn't matter. It really does matter.
Yeah.
And they're going to find that out. So we have to prepare them.
This is the balance we have to strike, because you look at a country such as Singapore, where they are storming up the league tables, but the incidence of children with mental health is some of the highest in the region because the kids are so pressured. So how do we balance? Of course, I mean, let's stress, and I'm delighted to hear from the school, and of course we want children to be happy in school. I don't want them unhappy.
Yeah.
The relationship, I think, that James Gunn is absolutely right. I feared some of my teachers. I respected virtually all of my teachers, and that's what you need. You need to respect your teachers. But we mustn't hothouse kids as they do elsewhere in Asia, because that's the danger.
Yes, that's
But
the
I would
danger.
pick you up on that in a sense that the one thing I didn't like about my childhood was the fact that there were times when I felt fear more than I should have done, because it was a physical environment then. You know, you did have more bullying at school. You did have teachers that would launch a blackboard rubber across the room.
school?
I was, yeah.
Don't you think, with a bunch of teenage... I was in an all-boys school with quite a military discipline. You had to have that discipline, otherwise the kids would own the class.
But you don't need that level of extreme
Exactly.
discipline.
So fear I don't agree with, but respect,
100%.
absolutely. And there's ways of doing that. And sometimes, of course, as a teacher, as an adult, you
to
do
raise
lose
your
your temper a
voice,
bit, and you do have to raise your voice occasionally when you've got a group.
But respect is good if it goes along with academia, if it means that you're going to...
Absolutely, and that's why I asked you the question. Let's see how they do. I don't think it's a bad thing that they're doing it. Let's see how it goes.
You're applauding singing to kids that are being naughty.
It's a social experiment, okay? If they want to try it,
it had to be Graham Lassard. It had to be
If
one.
they want to try it, that's fine. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't sign
Graham,
up to
can I
it.
say, nobody is going to sing to you in the workplace. So let's not be doing that to children. Well, maybe on this show, Nick.
Felicia Simon Cowell.
But do you think that it's right that people... I mean, the singing is obviously going way off. But do you think you would see it as commonplace in the workplace that people shout at each other?
Sometimes you'll get shouted at.
And that there's that sort of more aggressive way of controlling
But
the group.
I would say
Shouting's not
people don't necessarily
necessarily
shout.
bad.
I would say I don't think people necessarily shout in the workplace, but what you have to understand is there's a difference just in the development of the brain of children than to adults. So kids are rowdy. Kids are rowdy, and sometimes you need
Alex
to shout to
Ferguson
keep them
never
under
shouted at you.
control.
Well, I didn't play for him. He did shout at me, but he was always saying "well done" because I tended to play well for Manchester
his players
United when I was playing for Chelsea. No, but I mean, obviously, as you said in the intro, I've come from a very competitive, aggressive bullying culture
And
of
it
sport,
served you
and it
well.
had to be that way. It absolutely
Let me ask you
did,
this.
but it's not. That isn't normal either.
No,
let me
that's not
100%
This is
normal.
intriguing.
that's not-
Two
yeah.
managers, one who's really of the mind, and you've had a stinking first half, right, and all the lads come running in, and you really have all of you play badly. Are you worried of the guy who's really quite cerebral and is just going to drill down, or are you worried of Ferguson, apparently, where the paint is literally falling off the wall?
It's a brilliant question because it's changed. Managing players has changed. You can't give them the hairdryer now.
Can you not?
You cannot. It's a different way of managing people. Wenger, he's not somebody who goes around throwing teacups. It's more, in some ways, more sophisticated because you're dealing with pressure situations, and quite often the way we've realised how to deal with those situations is to take the pressure out of the situation. So it worked for Ferguson. Mourinho has that quality where he's very
Passionate.
dominant and
He can go for
grumpy
someone,
and he can really, just with his eyes.
No, I was going to say,
Don't look at me.
That's what Wenger does as well, isn't it? He instills terror in me. I'm just watching from the
It's
sidelines.
respect. So Wenger is the singing football manager, the equivalent of
Really?
Well, because he doesn't engage with aggression. I know he pushed somebody the other day. He'll get punished for that, but that's not in his nature. It's uncharacteristic.
But what you said before, I thought was interesting about kids, different kinds of kids. You know, maybe the kids in Swansea are different. Maybe they put something in the water there. But I know that this was applied to kids in Newcastle, where I come from. I mean,
Walthamstow.
people would just
It's not
laugh
gonna
their
work,
socks
the
off at the
councillors
teachers.
say.
It wouldn't work.
No.
Well,
wouldn't.
it's all about balance and respect.
Okay.
So we will see what happens in Wales. So.